Awesome.
All right, good to go. Sweet.
Cool.
All right, we're already recording, so I'll just start it off.
All right.
What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength Podcast. We've got another special guest on today, Kevin Davis. What's going on, man?
What's up?
So we're over here at the AnchorFit studio / gym. It's a studio right now because we're filming a podcast, but we got on camera, so if you are listening to this on Spotify, definitely check out the YouTube version so you get some nice video and nice view of the mural on the wall and some of the weights in the background here. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be in here. We just got a good lift in.
Hell yeah.
I just deadlifted 500 pounds for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Easy weight, man.
Easy weight. What were you saying as a cue as I was going? Gotta go? Gotta go?
Gotta go, man.
Gotta go. And it went.
Yep. Push that floor away.
We did, yeah. And and we'll dive into this, but a couple good corrections for me there. What my hips were a little bit too far back. I was trying to do more of a bent over deadlift. You told me, all right, get your feet under the bar, push that floor away.
Hips under the shoulders.
Under the shoulders, yep.
Yep. Head over hips and push that floor away. Get tension on the bar.
You squeeze the lats.
Yep. Squeeze those lats. Be pulling on the bar before you stand it up. Don't try to lift it with your upper body. Push that floor away.
Totally.
You know?
And yeah, it's super helpful because a couple reps there, I was feeling a little bit uneasy as far as like, oh, I don't know if I've got much more in my tank. But then the second I hit those corrections, I'm like, oh, it's heavy. It's a lot of weight, but I feel confident.
Yeah, I mean, we had 335 on there, and you said, that's about a 9. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Exactly.
You know, and what we want to think about is not lifting that bar up. We want to think about force production. We're doing this for force production.
Sure.
So think about that force that we're producing through the floor to generate that bar up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As opposed to thinking about lifting that bar up, you know?
Totally.
And from performance standpoint and athletics standpoint, that's going to be more functional.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, that's the position that you want to be in because we did them elevated.
Yep.
So that's the position you are when you're jumping.
Yep. Absolutely.
Not often are you jumping from that full squat position.
Exactly.
If you want to build force, you train the position that you're going to be in.
Exactly. And I lift from different heights. I lift from the floor every now and then. But, with most athletes too, with all athletes, I should say, my first priority is injury prevention.
Sure.
First and foremost. You know what I'm saying? So why am I going to put an athlete in a position where they could potentially tweak their back, like going from the floor? Mm-hmm. We're at a much safer position.
Yep.
We're at a more athletic position.
Sure.
We're in that athletic, like when you're loading for a jump.
Yep.
We're not going full squat. We're going more of a hingy squat, loading those hips, and then producing that force against the floor.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were saying, not to get ahead of ourselves already, but I kind of want to go down this path. You were saying about the story about the Boston Marathon.
Yes.
The runner.
Yes. So one of Nike's trainers, Ryan Flaherty, was training Meb, who you've probably seen on Skechers commercials for a little while there, but he was the last American male to win the Boston Marathon. So when Ryan Flaherty was training him for the marathon, he had him trap bar deading 2.6 times his body weight.
Wow. With
that, every time he took a stride at the same cadence, he was covering 4 more inches. Now, picture that over 26.2 miles, 4 extra inches every time he strides.
Right.
At the same cadence. So he's not making him faster,
right?
But we're producing more force, so therefore we're going further every time.
And I know a lot of runners might hear that like, oh, he's just widening, he's just lengthening his stride. He's just increasing more power. It's not like he's quote unquote overstriding, because that's something that a lot of long distance runners are like, oh, I don't want to overstride. I don't want to overstride.
Right.
It's not that. It's the power through each plant, each foot of coming off. Because when you're running, it's basically a series of mini jumps.
Exactly.
You're going airborne.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's an overstriding thing. It's like, oh, I have more power through each step I'm taking, which is pretty cool.
Right. You want to think of your legs as pistons, not like you're reaching and pulling.
Right.
So he's producing that force. Same thing I was saying when we were lifting. Push that floor away. He's pushing the ground away.
Sure.
He's not reaching and pulling.
Right.
So therefore, he's pushing down. He's not increasing his, he's not reaching for that stride.
Yeah.
He's just putting the force in, going further.
Totally.
Yeah.
And another side benefit of that, I think we talked about a little bit earlier too, is that runners it's less so now, but tend to be one of those populations in athletics that tend to stray away from strength training.
Yes. Yes.
So to show, okay, here's a distinct benefit at the highest level, it's so important. But also for me, from a PT, from an injury perspective standpoint, doing things like that, it's so important to prevent some of these like IT band style injuries and hip flexor style injuries, keeping the legs strong and bulletproofing per se. Yeah.
Bone density.
Yeah.
How many stress fractures do you see in runners?
A lot.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're creating more bone density lifting heavy weights. You know?
Right.
I trained a girl over at Bridge to Fitness back in the day who's a pretty elite runner. You may know her, this girl, Kelsey. And she started strength training with me after never strength training. After that block of strength work, she ran her fastest Boston ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and she was running Boston.
Yeah.
And that's tipped off. Like, it's tough when you get an athlete who's already competing at the highest level.
Totally.
To make a big difference there. Because then we're talking like, I mean, to use a professional sports reference, like game of inches.
Absolutely.
Like if you could train for 6 months to get a few inches, like type of thing. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was not ideal conditions. It was the year that was rainy and windy and stuff like that. And she still beat her best time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a good workout in. I guess to backtrack a little bit today, we did some trap bar work. We did some Hatfield squats, which were really fun. Hatfield lunges, I should say, which I had never done that variation before. I think I've messed around a little bit with the Hatfield squat, but lunge was a new one for me, which was really cool. We did some the fisherman rows that I had never done, which were cool. Overall, a really complete program, really good. So maybe bring me through kind of big picture how you kind of set up your programming.
Sure. So my programming is quite simple. I really train movements instead of body parts.
Sure.
Having a sports performance background, I train all my clients like athletes.
Sure.
With that, we're generally training full body every time I see them for strength work, whether it's 2 times a week, 3 times a week, whatever.
Yep.
Everybody's program's different.
Totally.
But what I'm doing is I'm working the basic human movements every single session. So they're going to do a squat variation, a hinge variation, a push, a pull, a twist, a lunge, and a carry usually.
Nice.
We'll do some sort of carry. And the carry might be sled work.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Something like that. All very functional and all kind of based on where the client's at and what their goals are. If they're an athlete, depending upon the sport, it's going to look very different for each athlete. We definitely get some accessory work in based on their sport or injury. If they have like a shoulder injury, we'll do some prehab, maybe some rehab at the end as well. Definitely a little soft tissue work. Some form of a dynamic warm-up. Like today, we did some. We got those hips nice and juicy before we deadlifted.
Gotta have juicy hips.
Got those glutes firing with a little band work. That warm up's really underutilized, I think, and I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it.
Sure.
We walk in the gym, we got an hour to lift. It's like I want to throw weights around that whole hour. I don't want to get on a foam roller. I don't want to do the mini band work. I don't want to do a warm up. But as I get older, I'm approaching the big 5-0, so I just see how valuable it is. And I have some middle school kids I train, and instilling those best practices in those kids now.
Yeah,
they're going to be in it for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? They're going to avoid a lot of the injuries that I had. Because when I was growing up, there was no such thing as sports medicine. You know what I'm saying? Like 80s, 90s,
totally.
And being a skateboarder too, on top of it, it's like we didn't warm up. We pushed around a little bit, but, and then we're throwing ourselves downstairs and handrails and,
bodies bouncing off the ground.
Well, it's like you said, you have no regard for, injury or what might happen. You know what I'm saying?
Very, very short-sighted. Oh, I want to hit this jump. I want to hit this rail. Not what's that going to feel like 20 years from now?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm guilty of even doing it in the gym, in the past,
Yeah.
So
that's cool. So let's I do want to get into some of the rapid fire questions. So we'll sidetrack just a little bit because
Sure.
these are interesting for me too. That's why I keep them in there. But so this could be. We'll start with my favorite question, the coffee question. So this could be either home brew if you want, or maybe like a local shop around the area.
Yeah.
So my question is favorite coffee shop or favorite like go-to for coffee.
Well, I always start with some coffee at home.
Nice.
We'll do a nice little dark roast with some. Our little secret is we put a little pumpkin pie seasoning in the grounds.
Ooh.
Yep.
Just in the fall or
All year round.
Nice.
I'm extra basic, boy.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
man. No, we like that pumpkin spice in the Davis household. So,
Nice. I love
yeah,
it.
so I'll do some of that. I'm up at 4:00 in the morning, so
Yeah.
that coffee is essential.
Totally.
But I do like Coastal Roasters.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
I'll set up shop at this Starbucks every
Yep.
once in a while. It's nice too because you can network there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
locals here. The island being so small.
Totally.
I bumped into 2 old clients there
At the Starbucks.
at the Starbucks.
No way.
This guy Matt, and he was like, "Oh, I want to come see a runner
Yeah, there
who
you
I
go.
introduced to strength training.
Nice.
Wants to come back." And then another friend from high school that has come and seen me. So it's just, that's the other thing about the coffee shops. It's a great place to network, great place to, make some connections,
Yeah, good vibes there.
Totally.
There's a new one that just opened up on East Main Road, Graphic. You've seen that?
No, I haven't seen
They
it.
opened up, I think today was their first. It used to be a Subway. I don't know what it was before the Subway, but it was a weird building on East Main Road.
Okay. In Portsmouth?
In Portsmouth, yep. Maybe Middletown, so right in between Portsmouth and Middletown, I think. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you know the building I'm talking about. It was a weird looking red building. It looked like it shouldn't have had a Subway in it, but it did.
It almost looks like a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the coffee shop is much better suited for the structure of the building. So they're cool. It looks like I haven't been there yet, but I'll probably stop by there on my way back. They have like different art and coffee at the same time. So
Ooh, that's right by my house. That might be
Yeah.
a problem. That might turn
it's
into
gonna-
a problem.
It's gonna be a problem. So I'm glad they're there. They look like a good group that are running it over there.
Cool.
So it'll be cool. The next question I got: favorite go-to breakfast. Same thing. Could be like a place you like to go out here, or just like what do you make yourself?
I eat the same thing every morning.
Yeah.
I have 6 eggs over arugula,
Okay.
little olive oil, little Himalayan sea salt.
Really?
Every morning, same thing.
That's awesome.
So you're getting some trace minerals with the sea salt.
Yep.
It's no carb.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the 6 eggs. That's a good amount.
Yeah. I went from 4 to 6.
Nice. I'm at 4 right now, so
Yeah.
maybe I should make the jump.
Yeah.
Next one we got favorite recent book, and this could be also audio book or podcast.
So I just got Alistair McCaw's new book. I don't know if you've ever read any of his stuff. He wrote Be Champion Minded.
No, I haven't.
His new book, forgive me, I can't remember the name offhand, but it's all about mindset. I really like his stuff. But my favorite book all time is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Nice.
Have you ever read that?
I have, but I got to reread it. It's been a while.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I have it on Audible.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we just got Jared walking in. What's going on, man? Matt, nice to meet you. Yeah, I got to reread that one.
It's great, man.
Next one we got. What are you listening to right now? Are you a podcast guy? What are you listening to right now?
Rogan.
Yeah.
I listen to Rogan. I listen to Mark Bell's Power Project. We were
Nice.
just talking about
Yep.
that. Chris Wilcox podcast.
Cool. Good stuff.
Comedy podcast.
Yeah.
Just keep it light.
Definitely need that. Need to switch up
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Next one's similar. What are you liking for Instagram accounts right now? Could be like related to sports and fitness. Could be just be something that's same thing, like keeping it light, comedy.
I don't know anything in fitness. I really like David Weck's stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Jared actually introduced me to that.
Is it WEX?
WECK.
Gotcha.
He's kind of a nut, but Don't get turned off by that.
Sure.
But he's got some really cool methodologies. He's got another guy who I don't know if he's his partner or works for him. This guy, Chris. What's Chris's last name, Jared? Chamberlain, right? Chris Chamberlain.
Okay.
His handle is eroding weakness. He does some really obscure, cool workouts. The guy looks like he's probably like a $170, $175 wet with boots on, but he is strong as an ox and moves like he just
Really well.
moves so well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I may have when I bumped into you a few weeks ago. Followed one or two of them on Instagram, but I got to check them out again.
Yeah,
some cool stuff.
Yeah, he makes those soul steps that we used at the beginning.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like those. Those are really good for hip mobility.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That was a good little warm up before we did it, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then next question: favorite shoe or sneaker? And I see you got the Vivo on, right?
Dude.
Game changer.
So I was a huge Nike head. I still am.
Sure.
I have a whole room full of sneakers. I have Jordans. I'm a full sneakerhead.
Nice.
Jordans, Dunks, Air Force, Vans for days.
Yeah.
But as far as training shoes, these Vivos are like the best training shoes I've ever trained in.
Really?
I went about a year training straight barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened through training barefoot all the time and not jamming my feet into these tight toe boxes is my toes actually spread.
Really?
Yeah, my feet completely changed.
That's cool. Because you hear them say that.
It's true, man.
That's cool.
It's true. My toes spread. I was definitely, when I would deadlift in the past, I noticed my toes would curl up. And now I really grab the floor, even in these shoes. These have like zero drop. I mean, it's a piece of rubber between my feet.
Sure.
Feel the floor.
Yep.
They're fantastic. I love them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I got to check them out. That's another thing. I know I just told you today I bought the Iron Neck, but that's another thing that's been on my radar for a while that I haven't actually gone in and all right, pull the trigger on yet. So that's cool. All right, now I'm starting to. The more I hear it from different people, the more I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Time to try it out.
I mean, squats, deadlifts, just like moving around, it feels so much more natural. I mean, you're a surfer, so, you're barefoot on that board and stuff like that. You can see the value in being barefoot, having strong feet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Strong base. You got to build from the bottom up,
Well, and it makes sense, like what you were saying with the narrow toe box shoes. I mean, everything else, like coming from a PT perspective, if you throw a brace on something, it's going to get stiff, it's going to get less functional, and it's not going to allow for movement or mobility. So we're kind of walking around with braces on our feet all day. Kind of makes sense to, let's see if we can maximize as much motion as our foot is supposed to have.
Totally.
Instead of restricting it.
Yeah.
So it did from a mental standpoint, or it makes sense.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is coming from a guy that used to squat in Ramaleos, Nike Ramaleos.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't get any more stiff than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, the freedom that these allow you,
Totally.
and it's so much more like natural movement,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like to hear
They're
that.
great.
So I want to transition next. We actually did pretty good on those rapid fire. We kept them pretty rapid. That's good stuff. Transition next is your background. So kind of want to start with how you got into the fitness space in general.
Sure.
And then how you went into creating AnchorFit.
Okay.
But starting with you first.
Okay. So I grew up, my dad was very athletic. Like, even as a kid, he was playing softball and basketball, and he's actually the one. He was always my baseball coach in Little League and stuff like that. So he's very much like a support as far as athletics and stuff like that. He taught me how to skateboard.
That's cool.
My uncle was a sponsored surfer, so
No way.
got in the water super early. But through the years, I was playing baseball, I played football, I played basketball. Terrible at basketball, by the way. But
Me too.
skateboarding was what I fell in love with.
Sure.
And, one of the greatest gifts that I got from skateboarding was that resilience. Like, you fall, you get right up. You don't care that you fell. You know what I'm saying? get right back up, and it just becomes normal. You know what I'm saying? So you really build that resiliency that, you know, a lot of people lack these days. You know what I'm saying? That ability to get back up when you stumble, you know?
Yeah, not just quit.
Yeah. So that being said, skateboarding was my thing.
Cool.
I thought from 10 years old on, I was kind of rolled with like the older kids.
Sure.
Always liked skating with people who were better than me because it drove me to try to get better.
Yeah.
So fast forward to my 20s, we used to skate this place downtown, Parati Park, which is still there. It's where you catch the ferry, but it was very different back when I was growing up.
Interesting. Okay.
It used to have lots of like ledges, and it was where like I could go down there any time of the day, and there'd be friends down there to skate with.
No way.
Yeah,
that was the skate area.
Oh yeah, there were like ledges, all different size ledges and benches, and this rock that you could ollie over. This huge rock, and you could actually ride up it and kind of like wally off it.
So it wasn't a like city designed skate park, but it was just a place to skate.
It was just a place to skate.
Cool.
We skated it so much, everything was waxed up. The curbs were like rounded from grinding them so much.
Did the cops like chase you out ever? Or?
No, they left us in there.
No
They just
way.
let us chill there. I mean, the cops would come down because like in the 90s, it was like that hip hop skateboard culture.
Sure.
So like people are just hanging out down there drinking 40s and smoking blunts. And that's when and then people start doing graffiti on the walls and stuff. And then that's when it got bulldozed.
Yeah.
And like
wow. Okay.
now it's just like grass with a few benches. It's not skatable.
Right.
But like I grew up there. I have it tattooed on my wrist, actually, Parati
No
Park.
way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, me and a few of my boys that I grew up skating with got that one night.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean that place, I mean, I lived there.
Yeah.
Like I was there from like 11 o'clock in the morning till like 11 o'clock at night every day, just skating.
Wow.
And then I actually broke my back there.
Oh.
I was doing there was a high block that was probably about as high as these benches. And this will go into how I got into fitness.
Hey, let it roll. I trust it. Let it roll.
So I was doing a trick on a high block. I was doing a frontside tail slide. I'm sure you know what that is. Maybe not.
I'm away from it. I've been away from skating long enough where you describe it for me.
So you're sliding on the tail of your board, like across the ledge like that.
Okay.
I was going
facing towards.
So
like
I'd be going towards you.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. I can picture that.
And just kind of hung up, and I was going super fast, and I twisted, and I heard a pop. And I thought, I just kind of like popped something. So I dropped to the ground, started stretching my back, whatever. Tried to skate some more. I was like, no, I'm just going to go home, whatever.
Yeah.
At the time, I was going to school I think it was at UMass at the time. And I was living in Fall River.
Okay.
And I drove back to Fall River, went to bed, woke up the next morning. I was in complete spasm. I could not get out of bed. And I called my mom, and she came and picked me up. My mom was a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
So I called her. She came and picked me up, brought me to the Valley Road walk-in.
In Middletown?
In Middletown. No x-ray.
Really?
They gave me Flexeril.
Yep.
And painkillers, and said, here you go. Set me on my way.
Did it even touch the pain or no?
No.
Oh.
So
that's strong.
Yeah. And told me to go to a chiropractor.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to a chiropractor and getting popped.
Did they x-ray you at the chiropractor?
Not knowing what's going on still. No, this guy was a total quack. He's not in practice anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would sneeze and my back would go out.
Yeah.
And go into total spasm. And I couldn't understand why. Then I started going to this other chiropractor. And she's like, I won't touch you until you get an x-ray on your lumbar spine.
Sure.
So she writes me a script. I go down to this place in Portsmouth, go right back, show her. She puts the disc in. She goes, oh, here's the problem. My L5 looked like an Oreo, split right through the middle. It was two pieces, but by now it had healed.
Sure, okay, yeah.
She's like, well, here you go. You broke L5. So, and this is years later at this point. So I dealt with this pain for years, chronically, off and on. So now I have degenerative arthritis in my lumbar spine.
Sure, yeah.
So if L5 and S1 touch, my left leg goes numb. And
not a lot of space between those joints.
Not a lot of space. So I I started going to PT, and eventually they prescribed strength training.
Sure.
So I started with this, this is the late 90s. I started with this personal trainer who had worked with some of the Yankees. So he had he trained Al Leiter, Andy Pettitte, some famous pitchers for the Yankees back in the day. And he really gave me a different perspective on strength training.
That's cool.
Like he did sports performance training. So we were training the whole body. You know, all I had ever seen was, because I'd gone to the gym before and I'd lifted in high school.
Yeah,
You know, like we were talking about earlier, like chest day,
back buys,
And I was never really into it. And he kind of turned me on to like training. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I dove deep at that point. I was like in.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, you'd make a great trainer.
That's cool.
So I started, going back to school, focusing on that. By now, so I was working for this company and I was going back and forth to California, not in fitness yet. And it was a really good job. I was living in Boston at the time now. And so I'm going to get a little dark. This is like my whole story.
Go for it, man.
So I was living in Boston with my girlfriend at the time, and I got a call at 4 a.m. My cell phone rang. And, you just get that gut feeling. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it was my mom. So my phone was in the living room. So I went out, I called her back, and she was like, your brother's been in a really bad car accident. Meet us at Rhode Island Hospital. It's like, all right. So I start getting ready. She calls me back. She goes, he's being airlifted to Mass General. So I was already in Boston. So I went to the hospital. He had passed out at the wheel, hit the curb, bounced off the curb, and hit the propane tank on a camper.
Oof.
And both cars exploded.
Jeez.
This is on East Main Road in Portsmouth.
Oh.
So he ended up living 8 days in the burn unit.
Okay.
At Mass General, which was super traumatic, obviously seeing him in a bubble and this and that. And, it gave me some time to kind of mentally prepare myself for what was going to happen. And he ended up passing away. And he was only 20. He was my only sibling. And that took me down a bad road. That was 2006. And, not for nothing, my friends trying to kind of help me out, thought they were doing the right thing. They would take me out for drinks all the time, numb the pain.
Sure.
And I just developed some really bad habits, and I started drinking all the time.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't working in fitness yet.
Yep.
The company I was working for, I was like, give me all the work. I just want to fill my day with work.
Yeah.
So I was traveling. I was in California, and I was, working these 12-hour days. I was in charge of every operational aspect of a store opening for this company.
Okay.
And so I'd be at a site for 12 hours a day.
Sure.
But then it was right to the hotel bar.
Yeah.
Just living out of a suitcase. My relationship back in Boston was falling apart because she was going to grad school at Tufts. She had a plan, what she was doing, and I was I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do,
Sure.
And then eventually I just hit a point where I was I got to go back home. And I went back home to be with my parents, to take care of them because, good Irish Catholics, we don't, cry. We just keep our head up and pretend nothing's wrong, So, everybody was kind of always how are your parents? How are your parents? How are your parents? Never how are you?
Sure.
And I just would numb myself.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
So eventually, that got kind of old.
Yeah.
And then I ended up pursuing my fitness career. I was I need to make a change. I want to do something positive.
Totally.
With my life. I started, actually, while I was finishing my certification, I was working the front desk at Bridge to Fitness.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mike helped me out big time. Actually, all the trainers there were super helpful, super encouraging. And, I had those interpersonal skills from my previous career.
Sure.
I'd gone to school for like social work in the past too. So that gave me a nice background as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that really kind of got me in that space. When I was younger and just skating, I was very like about me and kind of like condescending. And, the gift and what happened with my brother was it kind of made me a much more compassionate and empathetic person.
Sure. Yeah.
And it gave me an understanding of you never know what's going on in somebody's life, like why they're having a bad day or why they're, not always like smiley every day or whatever.
Totally.
And, it, again, like I have to take away from that tragedy came some positives.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I think it makes me a better trainer or coach because I'm able to see, like, have a little bit more, like I said, just compassion for people, and understanding. I also struggled with my weight when I was a little kid.
Totally.
Up until like 6th grade, and I started playing football and I leaned right out. But like, I had a mom that could cook her ass off and a grandmother that could cook her ass off. And like, that was their love language, like food.
Yep.
So I got really big, but skateboarding and football just like leaned me out. But I still have that fat kid in the back of my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good that can come out of bad situations,
Totally.
if you look at it that way,
And I think to your point too is like a lot of times they'll say like what makes a good trainer, what makes a good PT, what makes a good business owner. It's like one of the main themes they always come back to is like, do you care?
Yeah.
And it's simple, but like coming from a background like that, like it shows like, okay, I care, I understand, I have compassion for people.
Yeah.
That's just gonna blend right into it.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because we see a lot of people in this industry that do it because they want to make money. And if that's your main driver, I'm hard on myself in the sense that sometimes I think like maybe I'm not that good a business person, but I know I'm a good person at the end of the day.
Right.
And like my intentions are always good. And and I think my clients know that.
Oh, you can't fake it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I care to a fault. Like I want what they want more than they want it.
Sure. Sure.
But
no, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you end up, if I'm skipping ahead, fill in the gaps, but how did you end up going from that to AnchorFit?
So I had worked at Bridge, and then I moved back to Portsmouth for a little while. And I had worked out at Peak back in the day, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll check out Peak. And I started working at Peak, very different clientele. And the thing I quickly learned is people from Portsmouth will travel to Middletown or Newport, but Middletown and Newport people won't travel to Portsmouth.
Yeah, that's true. That's very valid.
So I had a good client base at Peak, and both the owners, Rick and Rob, were amazing and taught me a lot from a business standpoint.
Sure.
Don't give deals, like you're worth what you charge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like things like that. But I missed the community at Bridge. I mean, you went to Bridge.
Yeah, that's where I met you first.
Such a tremendous community.
Definitely.
But, the good thing was I took the things that I liked about each gym. And then like we were talking about earlier, right before I opened this, I went to On It to a certification.
That's so cool.
And that gym was just like a dream gym. Like I kind of like based my gym's like a mini version of that gym.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. I can see the inspiration there.
But just the vibe there was so cool. It's just like everybody was so fun and just like had everybody's best interest in mind. There was none of that like shark mentality. I don't know do you know Tom Newman? He was at Bridge for a little while.
Okay.
Bald guy, kind of stocky. He was a trainer there.
I might be able to recognize him, but I'm not sure.
He's a brilliant trainer. He's now one of the strength coaches at Yale.
Oh, wow.
And he works with the lacrosse team. His first year there, they won the national championship.
Wow.
He's amazing. He's really, really good. Well-educated guy.
That's cool.
He's another guy that taught me a lot. But I had a point, and I just went off on a tangent.
That's
what was
all right.
your question?
Getting into like how you started AnchorFit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, again, I was just tired of paying people's rent.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was the right move. I'd always wanted to do something like this. And to be honest, my girl kind of just like pushed me into it. She's like, do it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. And, one of the nice things about this is me and my dad basically put this place together.
That's cool.
It was when I finished, he died a couple months after we were done. And it was, so it's a nice memory. Like he and I like did almost all of it. Megan helped a ton.
That's awesome.
But like it was me and him in here every day just grinding, and it was
That's
like
cool.
nice to have that time before he passed, you
know? Yeah.
So there's lots of like memories as far as that goes.
Totally.
So.
No, that's really cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like, like I said, I took the things that I wanted from other gyms.
Yeah.
Took some of the like principles and practices from other gyms that I liked.
Totally.
And left all the garbage behind,
I mean, this gym, it's from everything you've said so far. It's you. I mean, you have like the open concept space, the free weights, like the on-it type implements, barbells, kettlebells. The skateboards on the wall, I like the color scheme. It's a very cool space.
Thank you. I
very,
appreciate that.
And very like, sports performance centered, like full body aesthetic training, which is really cool. That's awesome. So I know we're coming up on the top of the hour here, so we'll start to we'll start to wrap up a little bit. So I have 3 kind of like closing questions for you, and you can kind of think about them. But one is anything that you're excited for that's like in store for the future. Anything coming up that you're pumped about. Anything that you want to anything you want to plug. Obviously the gym, but and then another one is and you can take a rain check or a pass on this if you don't have anything in mind. But a favorite quote, something that you like, a favorite mantra. The way I describe it is. If you're driving up 95 North, there's the big blue bug, and then there's the Rob Levine billboard right after that. You get that billboard for the day. So something you can say to the community, say to Rhode Island, say to Middletown, Newport. But let's start with what's anything in store, anything coming up that you're excited about?
No, I'm just really happy. We've over the last year or so, we've gotten an influx of some new people in the community, and they've really just been like super positive and like
that's awesome.
Really cool people. Some younger people coming through, which is always great. Some newbies to like gym culture. It's always nice to like introduce people to, how it should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like comparing or, just like everybody being positive and supportive of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why there's not mirrors in here. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it's about here. You know?
Right.
We're really just about getting a little better every day. I
like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And then to follow that up, obviously, like, shouting out the gym.
Yeah.
Shout out to your guys, Jared, shout out the trainers you guys have here.
Yeah. So Anchor Fitness Performance Training. We're in Middletown, Rhode Island. Shout out to my boy, Jared O'Connor. Amazing trainer. Stoked he's here. Keeps me from going crazy. And as far as that quote, one quote I really like is from Mark Bell.
Okay.
And he says it at the end of every podcast. Strength is never a weakness.
Love it.
Weakness is never a strength.
Love it. I love that.
You can always get stronger. There's nothing more functional than being strong.
Awesome. Can't go wrong getting strong.
Exactly. I love that. Love that.
I think that's one of his quotes too. I think he says that. But
totally.
No, that's good. Dude, great podcast. Great to talk to you. Great to learn more about the gym and about you. I had a great lift today too.
Yeah, great.
So thank
sesh,
you so much.
Man. 500, man.
I know.
That's
that
a
was
big
awesome.
deal, man. That's big.
So cool. We'll wrap it up with that. And, Brody Strength signing off.
That was awesome, man.
Dude, good stuff. No, thank you.